This episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast is brought to you by Bluehost. Try the #1 recommended web hosting provider. With plans starting at just $3.95 a month, you'll get a free domain, free site builder, easy one-click WordPress installs, and 24/7 support. But what's just as impressive as what you get is what you don't get, as there's no contracts, no hidden fees, and no gimmicks. Go check them out at lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/Bluehost. You're listening to the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast, the weekly show sharing proven methods and systems in marketing, equipment, and customer service, educational and motivational, to help make your lawn care business an overwhelming success. Now here's your host, Julio Tomei. Welcome, Lawn Care Nation, to another episode of Lawn Care Business Success Podcast. I'm your host, Julio Tomei, and this is episode number 96, entitled The 3-Piece Solo Setup Challenge. Well, hello, everybody, and thanks again for joining me this week on another episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast. I really appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week, as always, and I also really appreciate you guys emailing me your questions and comments and your suggestions for the show. Like I said, I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to let me know what you do like about the show, and suggestions for what you want to hear more of. So getting into this week, I'm going to be doing another solo episode here. I will continue to work on getting more of the interview episodes that I know you guys really do enjoy. But like I said, or hinted to in the previous episode, with it being spring, it's just been extremely busy coming back from that Echo Means Business launch event, and then getting into the mowing myself, and seeing everybody else going gangbusters with the mowing and the season underway. A lot of you guys putting in some crazy hours already. I mentioned previously that I knew it would be difficult going into the spring and booking some guests for the show, but I'll keep working on it. I've got some other ideas that I can do with as far as interview episodes go, and sort of change things up a little bit. Still landscaping and lawn care and business related, but maybe utilizing some other interviews and things from some other things I'm working on, at least for the spring during the busy season. So I'm constantly working on that, and we'll keep you guys posted with the few episodes. But bear with me with these episodes that aren't interview based for you guys that really do enjoy those. So I actually thought about doing this episode previously, because it's something that I talked about back in July of 2015, and sort of haven't really addressed it or gone back to it. So basically, where I got this idea was for a lot of you guys that know and have listened to the podcast and followed the podcast, in July of 2015, I had sort of a traumatic, game-changing event happen for my lawn care business, and that was the equipment and my trailer being all stolen. Like I said, this was a pretty traumatic experience for me. I'd never had anything stolen to that effect before, to that extent before, of that value before. It was like I say, a game-changing experience. I had even thought about, after 10 years in business, of quitting lawn care altogether, because I was just so insulted and ticked off that somebody could just come along at a whim and just take away all of my equipment and my trailer and the means that I had to providing for my family. And, it was just so stressful to have and to think about having my equipment and trailer back outside on the street again, and it happening again. And one of the themes that came across all the time was people always saying to me that, these guys that stole your equipment will probably be back because, now they know the type of equipment that you were using, but they also know that, you're going to have to replace that stuff. And now it's going to be all brand new. So I was super paranoid about this, just worried constantly that these guys would come back. I had so many sleepless nights over the first few months, and still to this day, there's nights where I'm pretty restless about it, thinking about the trailer out, in the front yard, basically on the driveway. So when this initially happened and, all this equipment got stolen, being with the podcast was pretty new itself. It was only a few months old, I believe, at the time that the trailer had gotten stolen. And I thought, okay, well, let me try to turn this negative into a positive. Let's try to get something positive out of this. So, knowing or thinking that from everybody telling me that, the equipment, that these thieves would probably be back, and not wanting to replace all the equipment at once, I had to go through a long process of documenting everything that was stolen, providing all the serial numbers and original sales receipts and all that to the insurance company. So once I had all of that done, the insurance company did pay me out completely for all of the equipment, minus, the deductible. I decided to take all that money and put it into a separate bank account. And I just called it sort of like an insurance claim account or something. And I figured what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge myself to not replace everything at once, but only replace what I absolutely need tomorrow to get back to work, basically. What is it that I absolutely need that I could get away with using on 100% of my clients, even though maybe I only used these particular pieces on, say, 80% of the clients and used other pieces on the other. But what could I absolutely just replace and get away with using on 100% of my clients? So what I came up with was using or just replacing the 21-inch mower, getting a trimmer, and getting a blower. And I said, I am going to challenge myself, basically put myself in the shoes of somebody just starting out, somebody thinking about starting a lawn care business, and you're seeing all these guys on YouTube, you're seeing these fancy enclosed trailers and all these zero turns and stand-on mowers and all this sort of stuff. And thinking, I want to get away from the 9 to 5. I want to get away from my shift work. I want to start my own lawn care business, but I don't have the money to invest in all that stuff. So I said, I'm going to prove that you can do this with just the basic equipment. So like I said, I started to think about the equipment that I had that was stolen and what I would replace and what I wouldn't replace. So for me, I was using for mowers a 21-inch mower, and I was using a 42-inch riding tractor. Now, the tractor, I've mentioned before in previous episodes, I actually started with a John Deere tractor, a Home Depot special, and went to, after only a few months, to a Gravely zero-turn mower. And the reason was the John Deere tractor at the time was not bagging properly. And it wasn't because of the machine, it was because of user error, of me not knowing, not having enough information, and thinking that it was the mower. So I ended up swapping out that John Deere tractor and getting a Gravely zero turn, using that for a few months and having the exact same issue. And thinking, okay, well, maybe I didn't spend enough.Maybe I need to go even, better. And seeing the Walker mowers around, I decided to take this huge leap and spend a whole bunch of money, what I could buy a brand new small car with, and buy this Walker mower. And it was a fantastic mower, and I used it for 4 seasons, but quickly found out that it was also very, very heavy for my particular little area where I live, where we get tons and tons of rain for most of the year. And there's a lot of clay in the soil. The water just doesn't drain, and the ground is always soft. And the walker, as fantastic as it was in the summer, the rest of the time it would leave ruts and ridges, and it would occasionally be bad enough that it would actually get stuck and sink, and then cause a huge mess. Like, we're literally talking turning a lawn into a big mud hole, trying to get this heavy machine out. So after the walker, I actually realized that the original mower I had, the John Deere tractor, for weight wise, was actually perfect for me. And after doing some research, I found out that it wasn't the tractor's fault that it wasn't bagging properly. It was the fact that I didn't have enough information. I was using the blades that came with the tractor. They're like the 3-in-1 mulching side discharge bagging blades, the generic sort of blades that come with it. And those, just didn't have enough lift to push the grass up the blower tube into the bagger. Now, this is partly, I would say, John Deere's fault, because they sell you a bagger kit without the bagger blades. And, you can, I guess, technically use the 3-in-1s that come with it, but only under, the best conditions. Once I realized that you could actually get separate mulching blades with a mulch plug that went underneath the actual deck and reshape the deck into separate chambers, or switching out and putting high lift blades on the deck, I never had issues with that John Deere LA 125. It was fantastic. It vacuumed, bagged like nobody's business, and it was lightweight to boot. So I ended up using that tractor before it got stolen. I ended up the walker for 4 years. It was a 2010 when I bought the second John Deere tractor that I had, and it got stolen in 2015. So 5 years that I used that tractor effortlessly and flawlessly before it got stolen. But I decided, though, still with the tractor, I was still only maybe doing 20% of my properties that I needed a larger mower with. 80% I was doing with a 21. And I thought, well, if I can only have one mower, it's going to have to be the 21, because I can do 100% of my properties with the 21-inch mower, but I can't do 100% of my properties if I just have the tractor. So with the Honda HRC 21-inch mower that got stolen, it was actually my second mower, my second 21-inch mower. My first 21-inch mower was also a Honda HRC 216 that was 10 years old, and I replaced it only because the deck was getting so rusty from all the rain that we have here and always mowing wet grass. I was starting to do welds and patches and things on the deck. The mower and transmission were perfect on it, but the deck was getting cosmetically not the prettiest. So I ended up deciding to replace that, and I used the new one for a year before it got stolen. So immediately after the trailer got stolen and I had to get back to work on the Monday following the Saturday that the stuff got stolen, I pulled out my original Honda HRC that I had in the garage that I just was holding on to as a backup, and thought, okay, this is going to have to get me through from July until the end of the year, so that at the start of next season I can buy another new one when the dealer has their demo day, where they have a big sale and it's a few $100s off the regular price. So I had my mower covered, but I needed now a trimmer and a blower. So the trimmer I decided to replace with the exact same trimmer that had gotten stolen, and that was the Stihl KM110, the split boom combi system. And I thought, this is the most versatile type of trimmer that you can get, the split boom style, whether it's the Stihl combis or the Echo Pass systems. this is absolutely what I would recommend as a solo startup, because you can get that trimmer attachment for it, but you can also get the sidewalk edger attachment for it. You could get a tiller attachment for it. You can get a hedge trimmer attachment for it, and have the versatility of all these tools in one machine without the expense of having to buy all these separate machines and just buying the attachments that you need. So I ended up buying the KM110 with the trimmer attachment. Then came the blowers. Now, I had 2 blowers on my trailer that got stolen, and one was the still handheld SH56C, and the other was the BR500. And this was the big backpack blower, but it was the quiet version of the backpack blower. Now, both of these got stolen. So I started to think, I use both of these. I use the backpack blower day to day, but I also use the handheld blower as a vacuum mulcher. In the fall, I would blow the leaves with the backpack blower into piles, and then I would mulch them up with the handheld blower and then put them into bins for the city to take away, the city green waste bins. So I thought, if I can only have one, I'm going to go with the handheld blower for 3 reasons. The first being the price. I can get the handheld blower for 1/3 of the cost of the backpack blower, and especially while I'm waiting for insurance to pay me out for this equipment, and I need this stuff like tomorrow for continuing my thing, and I'm going to be putting this out of pocket expense. So I'm going to start off with the 56C because I can use it as a handheld blower, blow off all my grass and stuff, and then, still come fall, if I haven't replaced the backpack blower yet, I can still, use this to blow leaves and convert it into a vacuum mulcher and do everything I need with it. The other reason I decided to go with that one, like I say, is just the versatility. Obviously, I can switch between the 2 types of blowers, between a mulcher and a handheld blower, much like the combi system type of tools, right? Where you're getting more versatility out of one tool versus just having a dedicated other type of tool. So I decided to go with that. Now, the third reason was actually a reason I had thought about previous to the stuff getting stolen, and that was the just the lightweightness of the handheld blower. Now, my trailer is a custom built trailer. It's all steel, and it's got this one side door where the tools go into, and I have to lower that door all the way down, and it's really quite heavy to unload the mower, the trimmer, and the backpack blower. With the backpack blower, I would be lowering the door down, taking the blower out, putting it on the ground, lifting the door back up, closing it up, going to blow, coming back, opening the door all the way down, putting the blower back in. And my thinking was that with a handheld blower, I would actually be able to just open the door slightly so that it was maybe a foot or 2 open at the top, and be able to reach in with the other hand while still holding the door and pull out the handheld blower. It wasn't as physically big and awkward as a backpack blower that you need 2 hands to pull it out with. And then likewise, after blowing with it, I'd be able to just go back, open the door a little bit, and put the blower back in with one hand, close the door, and I'd be saving the fatigue on myself of lowering that heavy door and closing it a few times each house. So I decided to go with the 56C. So how did it all go? How has it all been over the course, from July of 2015, from when the stuff got stolen, to now? April 2017. How has it all been? Well, I'll get into that right after I play the podcast announcements, so stay tuned. Hey guys, if you have any questions or comments about the show, I'd love to hear from you. You can head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/contact. And while you're there, why not join my mailing list and get access to a free PDF document of a landscape maintenance contract you can feel free to copy and use in your own business. For you Instagram users out there, be sure to follow me at Lawn Care Business Success. And if you haven't checked out my videos yet, well, what are you waiting for? Be sure to subscribe to the Lawn Care Business Success YouTube channel.
Now, I know you guys love listening to audio while you work as much as I do, so I've partnered up with Audible to offer you guys a free 30-day trial and one free audiobook of your choice. There's no long-term commitments, and you can cancel anytime. And get this, even if you cancel during the trial period, you get to keep your free audiobook. It's a great way to try the service and see if Audible is right for you. So why not give it a try? Head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/audible. Now back to the show.
So, as I mentioned before the podcast announcements, I had been using those three standard pieces of equipment exclusively since July of 2015. So how's it gone? Well, quite frankly, fantastically. For that period of time, basically, the length of this podcast, and I mean all of the episodes, with the exception of maybe the first few months. So during all this time, all these episodes, we're on episode 96 here, all this time that you guys have been listening week after week after week, I have been using just those three pieces of equipment to run my lawn care business. So what have I learned from using those pieces of equipment? Well, if you consider the fact that something like the Honda HRC 216, my initial one was 10 years old, and it had I think it cost me $1,299, and the handheld blower and the trimmer, when I replaced those from insurance, I think they were right around the $800 mark. So you're looking at an initial investment of about $2,000. Now, considering the fact that you could make quite easily, at a minimum, $30,000 a year with these three pieces of equipment, I think that's a great return on investment, especially when you think of the fact that those pieces of equipment don't need to be replaced every year. So it's not a $2,000 investment each and every year. It's a one-time investment of $2,000. And, being a solo business owner, you're going to take a lot better care of your equipment than, say, if you were had employees. So being the one that actually earned and saved the money and bought that equipment gives you a big advantage, because you're more naturally going to be more careful with it and take care of it and do the maintenance on it, and that's just going to make those pieces of equipment last longer and longer, as is proof in the 10 plus years that I was getting out of those pieces of equipment. So when you think about that, it's important to remember that, when you're in this day and age looking at YouTube videos and watching all these guys online doing their thing, and they've got these fancy enclosed trailers, and they've got these mowers that are $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, even $8,000. I think walkers now here in Canada are hitting the $19,000 mark. And you think about that, and you think about all of the, the amount of debt that puts you in, and the amount of lawns and work it would take to pay off those pieces and those types of machines. It's clear to see that, you can make a lot of money using those basic pieces when you're just getting started. Will other pieces of equipment benefit you and benefit your business? Of course. But you can expand to those as you're going forth. I think it's important to remember here that what's important is just getting started. Like I said, it's easy for you guys to get lost in the fact that you see these guys and what they use, and thinking that that's the only way that it can be done, that you need to have that expensive equipment to go into business for yourself. But like I say, with a small investment of about $2,000, getting those three initial pieces of equipment, and I would strongly suggest, like I mentioned, getting equipment and thinking about equipment that is versatile, whether it's the Stihl combi systems with the different attachments, or the EcoPass system similarly with the different attachments. and being able to maximize your initial investment dollars in your business and getting that equipment that is much more versatile for you. So what did I learn besides it being really profitable? I learned that in a lot of cases that it's also more efficient to use. For example, the handheld blower. I actually now prefer using a handheld blower for my day-to-day mowing versus a backpack blower, just because, again, in my particular situation, with my trailer, the way it's set up with a side it's a custom-built trailer. It's got a side ramp door that the equipment goes into. It's quite heavy. And with a backpack blower, I have to lower that door, pull the backpack blower out, put it on the ground, bend all the way back down, pick up the heavy door, close it, go do my blowing, come back, repeat the whole process again. And I found with a handheld blower that I can open the door just slightly, about a foot or two, and still hold the door with one hand and put the blower in or take the blower out with the other hand, thus saving my back from bending over completely and the time it takes to completely open the door, put the blower down, close the door and all that. And then even as far as starting the blower, with the backpack blower being on the ground, having to put your foot on one, pulling the cord with a handheld blower. Once that door is closed, I grab the blower, I start walking, and as I'm walking, I can pull the pull cord to get it started. So it actually saves me a considerable amount of time using a handheld blower. So why now for ending the challenge? Well, as most of you guys probably know that follow me and listen to last week's episode and the episodes before that, if you follow me on Instagram and you see the photos, last week and the week before, I was part of the Echo Means Business launch and now a UAG member for Echo. And what this means is that they will be sending me equipment from time to time for me to review and try out. And so this puts a end to the challenge, basically, because I want to be able to use this equipment that they send me and be able to test it out and review it properly. So that is why I'm putting an end to the challenge, and also because of running my business specifically for the past year and proving that it can be done using those 3 pieces of equipment exclusively. That it gives you guys all hope in running your own lawn care businesses with those 3 pieces of equipment. So that's it for this week. Here's to wishing you guys all overwhelming success and freedom in your lawn care business. Bye for now.